you know, funny, what came out of there? Some call it a process, some call it a method, some call it a strategy, some call it a way in which you identify things and you put them into order. That's how they simplify it, you know? Yeah, but performance measurement is nothing else. It's about you putting objectives and goals and measuring, am I achieving that? But the way they put it is there, it's exactly what we say, decolonizing the way we think about other people. And they give you their story. And here you want to write a framework because it's their story. And then they'll take it from, you know, because how do we convince people to adopt things if we don't, if it's not theirs? You know, so they call it different things. I remember some said, this is just a way of putting things into place. Then I asked them, what do you mean by things? You know, then I need to know my customers. I need to know my suppliers. Then I'm like, okay, finally we're getting to that level, you know, but this is the understanding to them. So it allows you to, you get two views, you know, their understanding and your understanding. And somewhere you need to find that, you know, medium. And how do I write it? At one time, I would want to go back and ask them, if you were to formalize performance measurements in a definition, how would you write it? To see the little things that they talk about, you know, then it's easy to say to them, do you realize that performance measurement is an overall? The things you mentioned, they're only talking about internal processes. Now, do you see this is missing? This is missing. This is missing. That's the beauty. That's the beauty, you know, of yeah, being there, you know, being there phenomenologically, sitting there, hearing them. If I were to talk ethnographically, then they tell you this is us. You know, you can't argue that. You know, so performance measurement, some people call it as a strategy, a process, you know, of identifying, you know, goals and visions and missions and identifying the objectives to make sure that you identify those measures. They don't even talk about indicators, those measures that you would want to monitor to check whether you're achieving those objectives. You know, it's as simple as that. And yeah, you go the formal route, you go the literature review, and like, yo, this is way high level for these people, the way they describe this thing. You know, how do we bring it to their level? Because this could be the reason why maybe they don't want to even adopt this, because we speak that high language and yet they are at that level, you know. Yeah, so, but you know, many people are defining, even literature defines it as many things. Other people call it a methodology, other key people. And remember, when you say it's a method, it's something else. If you say it's a methodology, it's something else. If you say it's a strategy, it's something else. If you say it's a process, it's something else. You know, so that's the beauty. That's the beauty. And looking at that and what we've just spoken about, it clearly boils down to what the extent literature concludes on. There is no universal definition for performance measurement.
No, I really appreciate that, and I love it because in the sense of businesses are unique. Yes, the blueprint can be the same, but businesses are unique because now we live in the world whereby the internet can be a catalyst for success as well. So you don't even have to have that infrastructure. It can happen overnight, and you can go bust the next night as well after making $1 million. So you know that's what you know. That's what I love about business. I guess going back to the two groups, then, which group made the most money when you were reflecting in terms of their performance management framework between the Gassi group and also our Caucasian groups? Which one was making it? Out of curiosity.
And do not underestimate the township groups, because some of them were running tourist guides or something, and with an infrastructure, you know, the motorcycles and you name it, a well-organized, you know. But I will say because of funding stories, you know, yeah, you know, the politics, you know, who has access to what. So the suburbs were well to do. If I were to tell you today, because they still keep in contact with me, most of them, I don't know whether ethically, you know, would I still be punished, whatever. But they still tell me we've moved from that old, you know, place. Today I'm employing 30 people. You know, it shows growth. But I can still tell the difference between the ones who had a formal performance measurement system. These are the ones who have grown so far. They've moved and they moved to a bigger place. The township ones, some of them were in, you know, in the tourism, you know, industry, hospitality. Some of them were in the manufacturing. And some have told me already, I've moved from the township. I'm now in the closer to the suburbs, you know, the Woodstocks and you name it. I've opened a workshop and you see, but I remember that you didn't have a formal performance measurement. So I still need to come and convince me, because what came out of those conversations with them, the township ones, I remember they would say to me, when are you going to arrange a workshop for us just to see this thing in Blackwood? Remember, they were talking across the group, but there were those who were strong because to validate my framework, they told me there's a loop here. The loop needs to go back there. You know, you know, so it's not things you can undermine because they are in township. They are fully aware of what it's all about. It's just a matter of scaling because, you know, they start small. And the ones in, you know, our situation here, they have access to funds and it's easy. They have friends and you name it. Ours still have to wait in the queue, hopefully, you know, government support and so forth, you know, through the CETAs and you know, the SME, you know, development department. And, but they're fighting. You know, they're fighting on, and you still go see them. They're competing and they're winning prizes, you know, in SME competitions. And there's hope there, you know. There is hope. Yes, I know they used to complain about this is time consuming. You know, when am I gonna get time to formalize this thing? And I'm like, there are evidence in other countries where people in your area have formalized this. So I'm not saying we're going to adopt them. It's okay to learn from them, tweak the framework that we develop. Let's see if it works for you. You don't need to do much. You don't need to do like the conglomerate, you know, the big corporate, how they do it. You just start small, 5, you know, measures. Let's start there and let's see if you're growing. If you're growing, then we grow, you know, bit by bit and so forth. But yeah, let's not, you know, I wouldn't want to even underestimate them. They are fully aware. I was pleasantly surprised because I just projected that framework, you know, on a projector. Immediately, some of them were like, no, do you see there's a loop there? You know, this needs to go back, you know, and yeah, it's the beauty of qualitative, man. You get to see this thing and you realize, you know, sometimes we just write in literature. They are not using these things. Yes, many of them are not, but there are those who can be examples, the ones that I intend using, you know, for my publications and so forth.
No, I love that. And I know that in your research, you mentioned, you know, pre-strategy planning, strategy planning, implementation, and post-strategy implementation. Could you take us through that in terms of how it works and why it is so important for a small business?
Now, if I were to simplify it to as a SME, and it's not a story I created, it's the evidence, it's the data that we collected and what they said. And they call it exactly, this is pre. Who am I to change it? So this is what I do pre. Yeah. This is what I do pre even thinking about this. So to explain what they say, now I'm talking, you know, across. They were trying to say at pre-planning, this is where they will talk to the stakeholders. Then I asked them, who's your stakeholder? Here I'm talking about family members. Then I'm talking about friends who have got knowledge in business and you name it. All right? And we sit together. Do you see now? Immediately it attracts design thinking. That's their conversation.
Yeah.
And they say, we sit together, we sit with them quarterly. You can see there is order here. We sit quarterly, and then we decide, is our vision competitive? It starts there. Remember, I didn't ask them anything. I didn't give an input. I was just asking them, take me through your strategy. That's it. And they gave me the whole story. And out of coding and categories and the theme, I pick up, there's a pre-planning. So they sit there with outsiders, and they are specific who they want should be there. What do they look at? The vision. So when they said the vision, I was interested in, can you please give me documentation for me to see? Now remember, it's interview now, I'm looking for document analysis. So I'm looking for a vision. I'm asking them to help me with my mission. So they need to help me how to get there, because I reflect back, last year, this is what I did. And this did not work, this did not work. Now think about it, they're brainstorming already, design thinking. You see? So, and then they say here, so some of them said to me, let's show it to you. So as I was interviewing them, I was sitting next to, and on their laptop, and they say, this is what it looked like. And this is what I connected with, the key indicators. Can you see this salesman? Do you see right now he's sending me an email? He says the customer is complaining. So real-time performance measurement. So these are things that they do pre-planning. So it's not, if I'm now going to speak out of assumption, and I know it might not be correct. I'm assuming maybe if it was a new SME, maybe they will say, this is what we decide, this is what we're going to look at. But because these were existing one, they say, this is our vision, this is our mission. And I sit with these people, let me show you, these are the emails. So they have evidence. These are the emails where I invited them and they came. We sit in that office. So who's involved? Is the owner, is the manager, and then is the people I could see, because it was an open plan office. And this person, can you see this one? Currently, she's busy with this and that and that and that and that. So she forms part of pre-planning. So we review our vision, our mission, our objectives. So we change indicators. If this one didn't work well, Noma, I'm going to tell you, these people are intelligent. I don't know. We just need to write about what they do.
Yeah.
Just to make it visible. So we take out this indicator. You see this measure now is a little bit yellow. So I'm worried about this. So right now, do you mind to give me 5 minutes? Can I send an email to the salesperson? Something like that. And then he says, once we finish, he takes it to his accountant to say, this is what I look at. Do you think is feasible to implement? So you get that, the steps without saying anything, without intervening. I will just intervene where he says, then it gets taken. Then I would ask who takes it. And then he says, then I go back to the cycle. Now that we've implemented it, I now monitor and I think what we reviewed. Are we still on track? If I have a problem, then I call my marketing director. And they surround themselves with people who are knowledgeable. What I picked up even with my PhD is that most of them hold degrees. Although it's diverse, some are engineers, some are, you name it. And they surround themselves with people who are knowledgeable. Yeah, with the township ones, sorry, maybe just to clarify, with the township ones, it might be impractical to get that. But what I like is they are also member of this gatekeeper because they are seeking knowledge. You see what I'm talking about? So it's that post-implementation, Post-implementation, he says to me, I go back to the same cycle. I check, did it work? And I compare with, and based on that, we change, and you name it. I don't know, maybe it's because of their education that to them it makes sense. Given that most of them, even in their codes, they mention this is a challenge. I don't have the time to do this, but here they do it. You see it when you're sitting there. So you pick up, oh, here it is informal, but they're doing it. There's evidence, and a simple spreadsheet. What I saw, a simple Excel spreadsheet, what I saw. He's able to see, where the performance is turning yellow, where it's turning red. And where it's turning red, immediately he says to me, hold on, can I speak to, my sales rep there? Please, quickly, there's a customer complaining, it's that. It's that you see, and you see a performance measurement system, documented and undocumented, but you see it live. It's a matter of which is something I would have wanted to do for my postdoc. Funds are a little bit of a challenge to secure. It's something I would wish to go, even if I were not to do it myself, if I were to have students and I put my postdoc, to say 4 or 5, go sit with these people, let's design these things for them. Sit with them, let them tell you this is what they want, this they can. It's complicated. If it's complicated, how can we simplify it? And we leave them with something. Yeah, but those are the faces. Not my own doing, is their story. I took it from the data, exactly what they said. Although it differed, some are consultants, remember, some are manufacturers, some are just, what do they call it? Restorers, because they restore wood and so forth. But you get the pattern, and then I sit down, I call my guys, that's what he says. I call my guys and I ask them, is it working? Design thinking, nothing else. What do you want me to take out? It's exactly that, And now to put it in black and white, because I validated the framework with the township ones and just a few of the suburbs, to them it made sense. To them it made sense, And yes, it might still look complicated, maybe from my dissertation, but it can still be simplified because I'm still reading, trying to check other countries, how do they do it? The ones, small businesses in agriculture, how do they do it? And so forth. So I'm learning, simplify it and so forth. I'm learning right across, kiddies businesses, how they measure it. I was reading an article on how to introduce, high school and middle school, a student to business and how they measure. So I'm reading these frameworks to see, how can we make it as simple as possible so that it doesn't feel like a burden or a time-consuming, activity, but yet they still need to see I made a profit. It's because my salespeople did this. It's because my processes were efficient. It's because we innovated. So he should be able to say, we got this finance because of this. So, but it's beautiful to see. It's lovely. I was in awe. But I reflected on myself as well. I was like, I came from industry. I did this. Remember I told you I was writing it on the board.
Yeah.
But you don't know until somebody tells you this is a performance measurement. Yeah. It's those small little things. Mine was for exports. I think it was for exports.
Yeah.
That little thing I used to draw there. It was for exports. And I remember when I did it, one of the marketing director, that was years ago, one of the marketing directors, he came and said, Lindiwe, for the first time in 2 years, our customers are happy.
Oh.
It's that. Because exports, remember, it talks about, containers docking, and maybe if customs delays it, you still talk to the customer and say, don't worry. So, but if I talk on the board,
it's
it's
easy.
that. I never used to be bothered. I would just sit in my office. Everyone would come and check the board and they would just leave. I carry on with office. There's a dashboard, you know. Yeah, I remember I ended up, loading it on spreadsheet to circulate it across, and people were still happy. It's the small things that you don't know until somebody tells you this is a formal system. Do you realize this is a formal system? Although in your mind you think it's a communication tool. Yes, performance measurement is a communication tool. So you're speaking to everyone to get to this ultimate, objective of making financials. But don't forget that financials are driven by non-financials, people that drives the money. So you look after them as well,
No, that's very true, which leads me on to a very, very technical question. What is the role of a supervisor, in your opinion?
Supervisor in the research relationship.
Yes, PhD student and supervisor.
I'm gonna tell you, they wear a number of hats.
Okay.
I know people, they tend to be mismatched where a person doesn't get to experience this beautiful journey. I was fortunate. My supervisor, at times, she would call and say, if you're busy with your chapter, please just take a break. You know, is that person who would almost like an alert kind of a buzz, because you carry on in your journey, you deny yourself these things, then mental issue comes in. Because remember, a supervisor is, maybe let me say, remember the project is yours as a student. The supervisors are there to support you. So they are there to see the blind spots where you don't see that, oh, I spent the whole week writing a chapter. Somebody needs to say, whoa, 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 hold on. Or when they read your writing, they should say, this doesn't make sense, because they are your second pair of eyes. That is if you are in a good relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Supportive. And because I learned so much from my supervisor, wonderful human being, Shem. Oh man. One cannot ask that much. She is challenging as my journey was.
Mm-hmm.
She was there through and through. She's the one who said to me, if you're going to say you're going to qual on SMEs, you must know you're going to go the whole world. So I'm going to tell you where to go. She's the one who said, go to the gatekeeper. That's the reason why you have a supervisor. Somebody to make sure that your project is manageable. At one time, I remember she would often phone and say, we have funds in the department. Here's the form, fill it in. It's because remember, you as a student, you're so consumed in your project. So you need someone who gives that overview of your project, but also think the things that you don't have the chance to think about. And that's what I intend to be to this young girl whom I'm supervising this year. Apparently, I'm told that in our institution, she's the first one whose topic has been approved, because I showed her the secrets. I mean, why do I have to hoard the knowledge if I were to share it with someone? You show them that a topic has got categories. You don't just write a topic. There are certain, it's labeled, so you decide, because remember, you don't want to influence what she does. She's the one who must tell you what they want to do. Then you help them clean it up. So the role of a supervisor should be supportive, sensing at the same time, sense what the person can sense, because people end up being ill health-wise, physically, mentally, because no one is saying, or just take a breather, it's okay to just take a week away from this. Because how do you write in such a state? So you need that, that alert to say, leave it. That's what my supervisor used to say. And she would, at times, she would check, what are you doing? And I'm saying, I'm baking today. He says it's better for you. Just check the methodology you're following there. Because it's, on LinkedIn, most of the networks I connect with, the first thing I send them to say, thank you for connecting. The first thing I mentioned that we're here to support and encourage, because I know this can be lonely and a challenging journey. Speak if you need help. I might not be a supervisor, but there's little things that you would want to talk. I know some people are too scared to ask the supervisor. Why don't you ask? Why don't you ask? But I always say the other thing that makes the relationship better with the supervisor is when you go in strong, go in prepared. You've done this, let them see that, what, I need to give this person support, because then it's easy for them to say, no, take this out. So I would say it's a support structure. It's a directive as well, where you're losing. And at the same time, they are the ones who need to give you ideas to say, did you think of this? Did you think of this? Because they see your story better. You're tired. As and when you're writing your dissertation or a thesis, you get tired. So you need someone to say, don't worry, I'm not as tired as you are. I'm aware of your story. Take a break, take a holiday. At times you would say to me, just leave it for 2 weeks. Just leave it for 2 weeks. But I think in that instance, it normally happens when you put in, you show that I might be doing more. I prefer to do more as a student so that she can take out. Or she would say, oh, I see this, but this is, is fragmented. Maybe move this, move it there, move it there, move it there. I think you make it easy for your supervisor. Yeah, but at the same time, you also get, it's a, shall I say it's a calling? Those who are called. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about sharing what I know. I think I left industry for that reason, because industry, remember, you work alone. I'm passionate about sharing what I know. And yes, I'm particular. I know people will say, yeah, this one is very strict. But at the same time, I'm reasonable. If you can't cope now and there's a family issue, drop the whole thing. You're still writing, you didn't check your due date. I'm aware of your due date. So that's what a supervisor does, to say, in case you're so caught up into this story, check. So he's checking the blind spot. The supervisor, to say, are you aware of this? There's a bursary, or application. Can I send you one? You decide what you do. That's what I do with my student. You decide what you do. If you want to apply, do. If you don't, but don't say I didn't support, because our duty is to support. I mean, we've walked the journey. We now know the ins and out. Yes, without spoon feeding, your students, your graduates. Yes, let them walk the journey, but then after that, regroup and help them, because by so doing, they're also learning. So I have material, I have templates. I don't want to give it to her. I want her to show me what she's capable of, because I don't want to take away the beauty, the learning that I got, but with the support. You see. So a role of a supervisor is just to, just a little bit make the burden, the burden a little bit light. It's heavy. It's not an easy journey. It's a journey that can break you. It breaks a number of things, relationships, even your own, your family, your friends, your own personal relationships. You deny yourself even going out. It's those many things. And then you realize, I've been reading this literature review, I still don't even get an idea. What am I reading? You need someone to say, what have you read? And then they're able to say, no, don't waste this. And it's okay. You're going to read 1,000 that you're not going to use. We did it. But you need someone to say it's okay. It's also okay not to even think at this point. Take a break. That's my own, understanding of what a supervisor should be, provide the support. Yes, we're not supposed to be spoon feeding, but let them walk the walk, and then you redirect them, and so forth.
I really appreciate your response because I don't know if you've seen there's a big debate in terms of what a role of a supervisor is, and a lot of people tend to then resign and move on to the next person. And there's also chats that I've seen on TikTok whereby people say, choosing a good supervisor essentially is like choosing a spouse. It is that important when it comes to your PhD, which you have emphasized to say, someone to lean in on, and the person identifies your blind spots. I guess for the final question then that I will ask is, in your opinion, do you think PhD hard talk is beneficial for the academic community, universities alike, and for the people in which we conduct our research in? Or do you think, no, Noma, it is not working, call it a day?
I would think because it's available in platforms that are accessible by anybody. So who can argue that? Right? So let's talk about the market we're trying to serve here. Mm-hmm. And the other methodologies. Because my understanding is that your program is about dissemination of research, but at the same time is educational. I talk about my story, but at the same time, you impart knowledge to everybody. What I like is that in your program, we got to speak things in a simpler version than how it is written in a dissertation. It's easy for someone to just listen what I meant about ethnography or phenomenologically, or paradigm. And then it's easy to go and read the proper writing. So it simplifies things, because I've listened to some of your programs with other, presenters. It's just simple. There's no technical language. It's closer to, presentations at conferences, but in a more digestible setup, if you get what I mean. So if universities want to simplify concepts and aspects, refer a person to this and say, just go listen to that conversation and just hear what phenomenological studies and ethnography studies and those funny paradigms, how do you position yourself? It's easy now to understand that a researcher doesn't enter a research as and when they please. Those paradigms, and then how do you position yourself? I've explained it here. In a simple conversation, then it's easy to go collect your literature review and now piece it together. So to me, it's accessibility again, simplification, critical information that's almost similar to conferences, although in a relaxed setup here, if you know what I mean. So it's certainly beneficial, provided people use it. I'm gonna go to the Bible quickly. It says, people perish for lack of knowledge. But how do you uncover knowledge? You need to go look for it. And this is available on YouTube, for example. Available on, I think, in Instagram.
Yes.
So that's where everyone is, you know. And many even students, postgrad students frequent those platforms. Use these things, use the information here. It's just a simple conversation, but yet talking all concepts and aspects that are critical for academic writing and for embarking on PhD journey or a master's journey. It's all those small little things. We might have talked about, the gatekeeper. Go read my dissertation. You'll see I wrote it there. It's not even a story, but you read now, you realize that transparency is critical, or what Lincoln and Guba calls trustworthiness, credibility, transferability. Yet we spoke as if it's a story. Obviously, a PhD is a story. You just need to write it. You just need to write it for the reader so that the reader clearly understand what your journey was all about. Don't forget that in PhD, even in a master's, it's not only positive results that we're looking for, particularly qualitative. They're more interested in they call them the outliers. Yeah, you need to balance your story with that. You can't say all of them said performance. There's those who rejected it. They said, nah, it's not going to work for me. You write about it there, So, and that's what my supervisor said to me. She said, just write your story like you write a novel. Think about the reader, take them to the journey so that they see you walking to the gatekeeper and they say, today there's no breakfast meeting. Go, it's there. And you justify it, it prolonged the study. So hence collecting data was different. So it was not like in, determined intervals. It was guided by accessibility and so forth. And what I just said, you write it down on your methodology, qualitative. I survived as a first-time novice accounting sciences, writing quals, and I cracked the secret, to say we believe in numbers. Quantitatives is our arena. We believe in numbers, but do we believe numbers for real? What you see in paper, how did it get here? Can't we improve this? We can improve it. But if you think you're only looking at this, you're not checking, are people happy or unhappy? Are processes efficient or inefficient? Are people giving ideas for innovation? How do you expect to grow if the number is stuck on this? Yeah, and it's those beautiful story. Qualitative, I'm grateful I did it. It's not a child's play, but I'm grateful I did it.
No, I agree. It's not an easy journey to sit down with people, especially when they feel like you're invading their privacy. And, even though they know that it's going to be coded, there's still that sensitization. And it takes a while to build those relationships. And that's I suppose true. When people embark on a PhD, they often, inclusive of myself, you don't realize that you're going to be bonded with your participants. Yes. Because you need them, and then they start to rely on you, and it becomes sometimes a therapy session because they need to vent with someone who's outside of it. Exactly. So it's very unique to each researcher, or maybe I talk too much as well.
It's an experience. It's the luxury of, you look at them and you're like, I know you worry about making money, but here you accommodated me. It's a special experience. No questionnaire can give you this. It's beautiful, and they still want to talk to you, after this, and they still want to check, how are you doing? It's that, and you learn, we've grown, we've moved from that area to a bigger place. It's the unintended relationships that you didn't plan for, but because of this setup, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. Things that I already am planning, you know, but it's funding a little bit of a challenge for me. It's things that I would want to use them to say, can we write a book with you, your story, not me. You know, let's teach everybody. Let's teach everybody how you do it, because people believe by seeing. So if they see you grew from here, here's your big place now, you know, and he says he's serving international market in hospitality because, you know, he's dealing in bedding and yeah, it's that, you know, to say if a person can believe this much in their business and they take performance measurement so serious, and today they phone and say, today I'm moving to another because, yeah, and I've hired 5 more people, you know, and after all, it's through them that, you know, economic growth can happen, you know, and we just need to be there to support them and help those who still are reluctant and say it's doable. Let's start with only 2 indicators. Don't worry, let's start with your customers and their complaints, you know? Let's start with just those 2, customers and their complaints. Then you ask me, where do you get this? Then I tell you, your information is everywhere. Today we have AI. Your information about your company is everywhere. Your customers are talking about your company. You just don't know where to look for it. You know, AI is here. Quickly, let's start with those 2. Customer complaints. Let's check next week. Let's measure next week. Did they reduce? Did they go up? Then from here on, you need now to turn them into loyal customers because they're happy. You know, it's those little things. You start small and so forth, you know. So that's the beauty about qualitative, is it opened my eyes, you know, a numbers person to believe so much in narratives. It's another story. It's another story, you
No,
know.
I truly understand. I mean, I've gone into quants, so I definitely do understand
Mm,
the difference, because you change your mindset
that's
almost,
true.
and it's a difficult one. But I wanted to say thank you so much for your time today.
You're
Um,
welcome.
Thank you. It's been so insightful, and I hope for anyone at home that watches this who's so stressed about their methodology, they will approach you and have that conversation, because it can be daunting. Like you said, method and methodology are different, and most people don't know the difference.
Yes,
And it takes reading in order for you to to know that. And Cresswell,
yes,
Saunders, all the people that you've
yes,
mentioned, they go
exactly.
into that, and
Yes,
they discuss it in great detail. And you can find simplified versions with AI nowadays where they break down the
that's
language
it.
so that it's
That's it.
easy and accessible. So I
That's it.
would like to say thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And hopefully you'll come back again. It's been such a
We will.
pleasure.
We will do it. We'll do it again.